This is Tomb Raider Definitive Edition. We're here on Xbox Series S. Be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. So this is the original, I guess you would say, adventure in the Lara Croft Survivor trilogy, which will apparently eventually tie into the more traditional games down the road. But at the current point in time, it is a nice standalone set of 3 games. Started off with Tomb Raider, which then became the Definitive Edition, and then eventually there is Rise of the Tomb Raider after this, and finally Shadow of the Tomb Raider. So it's a more mature, grounded, and realistic take on Lara Croft as a character, where she is younger and not as experienced and making her way into the world for the first time. And it's really, really well done. It's an excellent adventure game. It's got a great story, a great performance from the character. Character actress there. And yeah, it's kind of awesome. So what are we getting here? 1080p, 60 FPS, since this is FPS boosted. And there is auto HDR support, which adds a nice level of, well, just kind of light and quality to the overall experience. So that in itself is really, really quite sweet, and it's awesome that we did, well, basically get a definitive release of this game. That being said, it's been, I think, just over a decade now, and this one probably could do with a, I mean, technically, if you really wanted to, you could, like, remake it and make it more in line with the other games that come afterwards, but we're not going to see that, because I don't think that would be worth the resources, but it could probably do with a remastering, honestly. You could definitely do with a bit of a texture bump up and a little bit of a cleanup here or there for the modern consoles. That being said, if you're on the Series S, you're getting a pretty great experience that is on par with what the Series X is doing for this particular game. And that in itself is really quite awesome. As mentioned, it is, her adventure. It is a solo adventure, too, a single-player experience, where you are improving Lara by going around collecting various, I guess you would say, upgrades, new weapons, tools, and materials that will allow you to survive against the hostile threats that are here. And it's really interesting to see her go from, like, a character that is a bit weaker in terms of strength, and she's a very young woman in this, and she's never had to face this sort of, I guess you would say, danger and everything like that. It's very interesting to see her become a more confident individual, and in general too, woman that is just stronger and more powerful across 3 games, as she just embraces the situation she's stuck in, and then by the 3rd one she's quite a tank. But this is after the initial opening sequence, where basically she just gets thrown around and injured, and then this is like just after that, and she is like so injured, and there's a crazy storm, and she doesn't know where everyone is, she doesn't know who's still alive. And that's kind of the setup for this game, is figuring out, what exactly is going on here, what happened to everyone you knew, and what kind of dangers are happening as you explore this very hostile, unforgiving place. What was also really cool about the Definitive Edition, when literally like a selling feature back in the day was like, with the new console technology, they were able to like add where like stuff dries on her like skin, like the mud and the water would dry on her skin dynamically and like over time, and also like the jingling of like resources on her, or tools, so like her tools would actually have like a movement and stuff to them, and it was actually quite a big bump up between the original kind of game from the 360 era to the Xbox One. I was like, yes! And there's a multiplayer in this game too, which I'm doubtful you'll really find people and stuff, but the multiplayer in this is really, really good. I loved playing the multiplayer in this game back in the day. I had a lot of fun playing it and battling and doing different modes and stuff. It was really, really sweet. So I guess it's a single player game, but with a multiplayer that you can, like a PvP multiplayer, because it was that era where every game had to have like multiplayer, and It's really good. It genuinely is. It's really enjoyable multiplayer. I had a lot of fun with it. So this game it's not just the story too. It goes beyond the scope of the narrative. You're basically going around after you do the story stuff. There's extra things. This one is a lot more linear though compared to the later ones. Like the later ones have more hub type spaces, and Shadow the Tomb Raider actually has like a very open area, which is interesting. We're gonna skip along so that we can get to more gameplay showcasing here. So anyways, the game does not like it when you attempt to skip that particular cinematic with the camera group. It just like locks up. That's so weird. Anyways, as I was talking and going over, this story is just a really interesting refresh for Lara Croft, and you know, it's hard to really take something that is so iconic and well known and then kind of reapproach it in a way that feels right to the character while also being a fresh interpretation. And I think they just absolutely nailed it with this rebooted offering of Lara Croft. Like, I really was blown away by this game back over a decade ago. And honestly, there's been a real lack of Tomb Raider, I would say, over the years. Now that I'm thinking of it, we should have had a lot more games. Anyways, doesn't matter. It's really great to have Lara Croft available here, but as I said, the main game is very linear as opposed to the later ones, which means you kind of work through it and then you're kind of done. And there's like a little bit of side stuff you can do, but a lot of that is like gathering collectibles and, you know, resources and there we go, the makeshift longbow, and just kind of improving your arsenal of weapons and tools, and it just allows you to handle the dangers of the world and, you know, kind of gather everything. Anyways, it's a great series. In particular, this trilogy of games was so well done. And this game just really hit well because it was so refreshing. There was, you know, there's other games like this, but this one just really reimagines one of gaming's most iconic, you know, characters in a way that feels exciting and fresh and different and still on brand, and they just kind of nailed it here too. And I love seeing her as just like this regular young woman that's like trying to make her way and, you know, be a strong presence out there, and it's the world of archaeology and discovery, and it's not just all about crazy tomb raiding, weird shades, well, slick, cool shades and crazy guns. It's she's trying to survive. She's trying to learn the mechanics and the, you know, I guess you would say, the techniques to actually be able to live out here. It's very cool because you can tell that she is so uncomfortable with what she has to do. Because like right now, she's just, this is right at the beginning, she's struggling to do this. And then by the third game, she would just be like so casually like, okay, whatever. You know, just another day in the job, and it's interesting to see that. It really is. I really do love that. And then there's like different skills, and you really do get to feel a sense of progression. But there's a lot of danger here too, right? Like it seems like an easygoing kind of adventure, but there is so much treachery and so many like enemy foes you have to deal with. They nailed it though. They absolutely nailed what this game has to offer, like what it has to offer in the story and the scope of it. And I think it's got like a pretty decently lengthy, chunky narrative. Like honestly, it works really well for what it is. And I'm mostly just actually at this point waiting for that next one to be announced, I would assume pretty soon, to kind of continue this, because this has been such a great take on this character, and it looks really great here on the Series S. It honestly does. Like this game holds up really, really quite well. It definitely is aged technology-wise compared to the later ones, but I mean that's kind of a no-brainer, right? Like years have passed. I still though, it's like the fidelity, the detail in the environment. This was such an interesting game of its era, if that makes sense. Like these games, we were getting some really, really top-tier quality stuff right towards the end of, well, I mean the whole generation of the 360 era, but like right at the end of the gen, we were getting some really great stuff in particular, and I think this is one of those games where I'm like, oh, in that like last year and a bit, I was just like, wow, this is a stellar offering. I just remember buying it and just being completely blown away by what it had to offer, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. Absolutely love this game. I really, really do. Like this trilogy here for me is like a near perfect setup, and the multiplayer is fun too. I know I mentioned that, but like the multiplayer is actually so good. This. I wish it wasn't so dead, the multiplayer, but yeah. It's so cool. I wonder if I skip this, if there's gonna be any sort of like problem for this stuff. Okay, here we go. It's just also neat too, because like I'm looking at her face, and it's just like the character model. You know, it's such a change between like basically, I guess you would say, several years of new games and whatnot. Her kind of like just the way that the quality and the technology improved is kind of breathtaking, honestly. Still, I mean, I feel like I'm almost being too hard on something that came out like over a decade ago. Oh, now suddenly this door is open. But mechanically, it feels very similar to the later games, right? It's just they basically take all of the mechanics and style that was made, like, you know, created and provided with this one. And then they kind of just... Uh-oh. You know, they improve it, they have new techniques, new mechanics, new stuff that you can do. She's a little bit more crazier, more agile, and matured, and it's nice. It really is. You can just have an absolute blast playing this game. I'm not sure I'm singing its praises enough, but yeah, these Tomb Raider games are pretty special and pretty spectacular. And you just go to like some crazy, unsettling spots. Gotta say, Crystal, they really, really knew what to do with this character for the modern era. I love it so much. Like here, it just feels like you're adventuring for like the first time going through these places. And then getting the higher fluidity is obviously really, really quite awesome. Because, I mean, even if you were to get... I guess you would say, wouldn't that burn the table? Even if you were to get, like, a remastering of this, it would still kind of look like this, if that makes sense. Like, I think the textures and stuff would look better. Well, this is basically a remaster, right? It's the definitive edition. But if you were to get another one... It would still probably be like this. It'd be, you know, 1080p, 60 FPS, and it would just have some slightly better textures. So this is a pretty good way, or a really solid way to enjoy this. Oh, the iconic pickaxe. She's building her arsenal. Oh, and this game has really great music and ambience and sound to it, and just some gnarly ways that you take out enemies. It's almost tame at the start of the game, how you deal... Well, it throws you off into a really unsettling situation and set up really early on, but it is kind of wild how crazy things get over the course of the story. I do imagine at some point down the road, I would guess that what they're going to eventually do is this will end up as like a trilogy pack. Like, you can already get, like, bundles, but I do kind of believe that at some point these three games will kind of get merged together as a sort of one cohesive thing, which makes sense to me. Kind of like we've seen with, I guess, Spyro and, like, Crash Bandicoot, right, where they got, like, a remade pack. I'm not saying it's going to be anytime soon, but to me there's a lot of logic in kind of having these as, like, one cohesive thing some ways down the road. And they'll just be the survivor story or something like that.
You made it.
Oh, what are the odds?
Thank goodness. Surprise. It's okay. He's one of us.
Sorry if I startled you. This place would make anyone a little...
Is it just me, or is that guy super sus? I love how Sam, she just looks like a regular girl stuff, like, you know what I mean? And then Lara Croft looks like she's gone through, like, it's like a super treacherous, dangerous journey. It's quite a change up. She's got a really suspicious feeling and style, right? I always loved the dynamics between Lara and Sam too, and it's like a shame. I think literally you have to go into like comics to get like her full story and stuff, and it's like, really?
Right. Himiko.
It's just kind of weird that that wasn't put into this and stuff like that.
A couple thousand years ago.
Anyways, crazy stuff happens. How did we get here? Seriously, it's quite a change up. It's always the wolves. The wolves are the deadliest thing. Nobody expects to be stuck with wolves coming after you. She really gets thrown through the ringer here, eh? Like, just across the situation that like happens and that. It's pretty wild. Definitely a step up from some of the other nature kind of survivalist type games that were out at the time. That's for sure. Ugh.
Let go.
Kind of dangerous to do.
It's good to see you, little bird.
Hey look, it's all the people.
I'm so glad you're here.
It's amazing that everyone survived.
I'm with you.
She was with you.
She was here with that man, Matthias. But I passed out. When I woke up, they were both gone.
You girls should me go wandering off.
We need to find them.
Wait. What about Raw?
Okay, let's split up.
Hmm.
Let's go with Lara and meet up with Raw.
It is neat too, because like in later games, it becomes more of like a solo type thing with like a character, kind of being like a companion with you. Whereas these ones, it's actually like a squad.
It's been a while. It's all coming back.
It's quite a change up.
Not so bad.
Fire is needed to ignite this object. I don't have like a torch. This is when the fun begins.
I don't like this.
At least I think there's like enemies around here usually. I don't know. I would think regardless though that this should definitely be something that you dive into and play if you have never seen what this game has to offer. I think you'll absolutely just be blown away by it. And it's just so great to see her progressively become more and more powerful. Wait, that didn't even... Oh, there's a second one. And, you know, then it becomes like less and less of a challenge to like take out these creatures and make her way through the world and battle things and salvage items. And yeah, these Tomb Raider games, they're just... they're really special. They're very well done. The whole production value and stuff is very high tier. You always feel like they're pushing some level of like technical boundary with the different games, and it's nice because it's one of those survival type things, but it's not just that element of it, because like a lot of games that have the crafting and that in them kind of it gets annoying, but I think they do it just right in this game, having a balance of like, hey, let's gather stuff, and hey, let's have adventure and action and chaos. And some of the puzzle stuff is can be a little annoying, but the axe is too fragile. Of course it is. Why wouldn't the axe be too fragile, eh? There are enemies nearby. Doesn't look like there's any enemies nearby. What an inconvenience that is, eh? Now he's just kind of in his own world. You know what? I bet you there's like a wolf. I know that sounds weird, but I bet you there's like a wolf out here that I have to like kill. Otherwise I can't progress. Well, good luck finding that. Anyways, Tomb Raider Definitive is pretty sweet.